All right. Hey, everybody that's signing on. We are just a couple minutes early, but we are signing on. We are live with the great Al Levy today. I am so excited for this. I have looked forward to this for a long time. Having Al as a guest on this podcast. I met him. It's been a while. It's a while back. I was able to meet him and shake his hand. I heard him speak from the stage, and I grabbed his book. And I've read the book, Power Contractor. I've read it and I've listened to it on Audible as well, and it is impacting. If you guys are looking for something to help you, kind of motivate you or give you some direction to take next steps in getting control of your business, I cannot recommend that book and Al's wisdom enough. If I can just kind of share a little bit about what I've learned about Al before I turn the time over to him, and he's probably going to correct me, but he grew up in a family business in the trades, right? It was a heating company in New York, and it was high level, very busy and very lucrative. And that we all know that comes with a toll. And at some point in there, Al was like, this is impacting my other life, my family life, and my health, and so he orchestrated his exit strategy and retirement plan, and he had to approach his dad and his brothers with that. And it was something like a 3-year resignation, a 3-year notice, to put them on notice that he was going to go, but he had to set the stage for that to work so that he could remove himself from the day-to-day process, and that the business and the company and the family could continue without him. And this is where the idea of putting together processes, written down processes and operating procedures came into play. I find this story incredibly inspiring. Our team here, we use SOPs, or standard operating procedures, that are written out. I have over 300 that we work from. And when new people come in, it makes it so easy. They have to have some basic skills, but we're able to just hand them this. And so this is what I'm hoping, and I'm actually know that this is what we're going to talk about today is the 7 Power Contractor, the book, the model to implement in our business, and kind of how these steps can be implemented into our business. So I have rambled enough. Al, thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming on. And I know you're going to inspire the troops here. But I'm going to turn the time over to Al right now and let him go. Thanks, Al.
Thanks so much for having me on. I appreciate it. I always like, when I get introduced as, the great Al Levy, because for once I would love my wife and my 2 daughters to actually listen to that once and not laugh hysterically. And probably my brothers and sisters as well. So, because we were raised with not a lot of ego in our family. So it's always nice to hear. As to the timeline, we were originally in heating, fuel oil heating. And for those who don't know what fuel oil is, if you don't live in the Northeast, it's like propane. And so that was the main business. We started out of my grandfather's gas station, which was formed in 1936. My dad, my uncle, they had to take a pause because there was a little thing called World War II that my whole family went off to fight. And when they got back, they put the gears, the business together. My 2 older brothers arrived before me full time, and then I did. But as all of you know, if you grew up in a family business, you're at work by the time you're young. We were like 8 years old, cleaning up waste baskets, sweeping up, cleaning fittings, because we were also in plumbing. Ultimately, I took our company into plumbing, gas heating, air conditioning, electric. And we had put in the manuals in 1996 because I was a member of what was Nexstar in those days, which was called C2000. That was a forerunner to Nexstar. And I had read the most seminal book in my life. Now, there's tons of books that have been helpful, but I would say that, the ones that really made the world of difference for me was really about making sure E-Myth was the big one. E-Myth. If you guys have never read E-Myth or don't know about E-Myth, stop what you're doing. Now, here's the funny part about this, to me, funny. It was a big book in the 90s, and my friends in the industry, Ellen Rohr, the great Ellen Rohr, and my good friend Dan Allahan, who was also an industry giant, said, you got to stop what you're doing, and you got to get on board with this. So they wanted me to read the E-Myth because they could see what the stress was doing to me. And I didn't know, because I thought I was a pretty smart guy. When you're young, you're always smart, right? And so I couldn't understand, why couldn't I make this thing work the way that it should? And having read Michael Gerber's E-Myth book, I realized what the problem was. Is I was always busy working in the business and never working on it. Because that kind of was my dad's mantra, get busy, do something, and hopefully the money will follow. And more times than not, it did. But the price you paid was the stress. And for me, my addiction of choice, not so much choice, was I was 50 pounds heavier than what you're looking at today.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm 192 today. I was 246 pounds at the peak. Yeah. I knew I was in trouble. I went into a really nice Italian restaurant, and the guy, the maitre d', looks at me and goes, "So what team do you play for in the NFL?"
Oh, boy. So that wasn't the compliment at that moment.
That was I didn't take it as a compliment. Maybe he meant, but I didn't. Yeah. So I have been overserved. But yeah, I knew what I was doing. I was eating my stress, and there was a time to wake up. So I fell in love with the idea of systems. This is long before I made my exit. So it was 96 is when we put the manuals in place. And to my dad and my two older brothers, just so we have the birth order here, right? Because I was the youngest. I went to them and said, I read this book, and now you have to read it, because the way we're going about things, we have to change. And what we need here is operating manuals, standard operating procedures. And we need an org chart, and we need an org chart that really serves us and that can grow. And we need to be able to, who does what, because right now we spend most of our time micromanaging each other. And believe me, my brothers and I not only grew up fighting, we took it to the business, because either two of us did it or nobody did it, and both are bad scenarios. And that, I bet, if you're in a business, you don't even have to be relatives. Partners act like relatives, so it's a situation of, you need to know who is owning which box on the org chart. Yeah, that really changed the direction. What I also love is that, now I'm thought of as the operations guy, the staffing guy, and it's true.
Right.
But I wasn't born for that role. I was born for marketing and sales, and I was really good at it, marketing and sales. Uh-huh. And my team was really good at blowing up my efforts for marketing and sales.
So, thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks. So that's what also all of these things kind of, came to a head there. And I realized, I needed to change the direction of things here and systematize so that we could take control and then leverage and grow in the way that we wanted to. Because just for FYI, I was third generation. And now I'm proud to say my nephew is fourth generation in business. My middle brother is still there.
Right on.
My oldest brother retired, but my middle brother's still there. So people love to ask me, is your brother Richie ever going to retire? And I go, yes, he will, but it'll be feet first as they drag him out.
Well, I admire his dedication, and I should add, because we're, a lot of us are passionate about these things that we build.
Right. Right. They take on a life, and, they become the surrogate family. And so that really kind of is the generational thing. But yes, you were right. When things started to come under control because of what we had done, I realized, life was a lot more pleasant, and I continued on. But then I said to myself, these same 7 powers that we have mastered here, in particular, the operating power, which is the org charts and the manuals, and staffing, because we had given up on the notion of, these quote unquote experienced people coming to our company. And we were a New York City union shop. So any of you listening who think you have a hard time with labor, I'm all ears and very sympathetic.
Of course. Yeah, take it to level 10 challenge in being in a union shop. Yeah.
Yeah, in New York City. So yeah, it was quite a thing. And I will tell you that many fortunate things have happened along the way. Is that, so when I showed up, and really, I'm talking about when I showed up full time after I graduated from school, and even though when I was going to school, I was still working 6 months a year. But I'm talking about like first arriving and having a real job and getting paid. Yeah, it's very different in a family business. And so I could see what was going on. And, we were wrestling with the union.
Mhm.
And I finally just pulled the union guys together and I said, you know what? We are wrestling to a cliff. And I'm okay with going over the cliff if that's what you guys want to do. Or we can work together and we can figure out how to make each other's lives better. And to the credit of my team, they said, yeah, let's do that.
Wow.
This is long before the manuals came around, but it was really a turning point. And sometimes, the value of having your back up against the wall is there isn't any more place to retreat. The path is
Right.
forward. The path is forward.
It's easy to get the team's buy-in when there's only one direction to go. But if I can just highlight or just pause us on that subject for a minute. A couple of weeks ago, I did this interview with Deidre Ubelart, and we talked about getting the team's buy-in.
Yes.
And how you can accelerate, whatever the direction is at the time. If you get the team's buy-in, if they're just following your marching orders, that result is not the same. But yeah, talk a little bit about that. When you pulled everybody together and said, look, we're wrestling towards a cliff. We have some options. But it sounds like the team kind of went, all right, we're all in with you.
What do we need? They were ready to listen to, okay, what do we need to do? And so that was really kind of seminal. And honestly, I wasn't even sure about what we needed to do other than this butting heads had to stop. We had to find a way because we were going to be uncompetitive. We were going to be out of business and it wouldn't serve anybody, including our customers, if that was the case. My mantra had always been, but it really hadn't put teeth to it, is the customer has to win first so that the company can win second, so that the team can win third for the long term. And when I've shared this with my clients over the years, they come to understand that that is the right order of things. Customer first, company second, so that it can be good for the team over the long run. And that's kind of where I began to sell them on this idea of this. Plus, I tied in with that org chart when really the big part of getting started was the org chart of where are you today? So the question is always, well, why would we care about your org chart? And for them, there are 4 reasons. Where am I today, even if I don't like where I am on the chart? Where can I go with you in the long run? Because if you are offering a career versus just a job, I'm in. Number 3 is, if it's everybody here yells at me as I walk around the shop. People are telling me about, my paperwork or my stuff is not in on time, and they're not my boss, but they all act like my boss. And that's very frustrating to any employee.
Yeah.
And the 4th thing is, if it's not in my manual, who can I go to ask a question and they can't yell at me? So those are 4 reasons that they were very engaged, because at my company, and we just for scope and size, we were 17 million in sales back in the 90s when that really was big. Now, of course, things are huge, but we had 70 people, 25 techs. And so what was the problem was figure out which one of the 4 Levies you should make happy today.
Wow.
Because everything was, Rob, everything was opinion. Everything was based on opinion. They hated it.
That is so profound. I mean, for those of us listening, and I include me, I mean, we should feel the earth stop turning for a second right there. The org chart helping us to get, not just where are we and where are we going? So this is the dream and the vision, right? But who owns what box, so that if we hit a roadblock, we know who to go to and ask question, and that's their job to help with that in that moment instead of having conflict.
Yes, exactly so. And that really did make a world of difference. If you have time for a quick story, I will share how the birth of the org chart, and then you will know how it went.
Here we go.
So
let's hear it.
Yes. So my brother Marty was always in early. Now, he never fixed anything. He was, fortunately for us, he was the brains of the inside, the office, the financials, all that stuff. Because honestly, Richie and I had really no stomach for it and full-time thing. And so he's in early. and he picks up a phone call from a customer who's been screaming at him about, a callback. And he goes across the hallway and begins to just tear apart the service manager. And so when I arrive, I have to walk the service manager off the roof carefully.
Oh boy.
Before they jump. Yeah. And then in short order, I'm at the dispatch desk getting the day, set up, which is what I used to do every I get in late, 6:35 a.m. And so
that's late.
Yeah, that's late. Marty was in at 6. So it's 6:35 doing all this, and I get a phone call from a vendor. Now, to be clear to everyone listening, since we were little boys, my dad said to us, you pay the vendors before you pay yourself.
Yeah.
Because when push comes to shove, they'll be there for us. Which, by the way, was 1,000% true. Because when a little thing called Hurricane Sandy pretty much wiped out where our area was, Long Island, New York City, they took care of us like you cannot believe. Anyway, so then I get this thing, hey, I know you may overlook the bill, Al. When do you think you can get around it? And I, like in the cartoon where smoke is coming out of your ears. And then I hang up the phone and I just tear across the office, go over to the accounts payable person and rip into them. And now Marty's job is to walk them off the roof before they jump. So the two of us are standing in the hallway. Yes, we're standing in the hallway in front of everybody. And I look at Marty and I go, you don't like the way the service department's being done? You don't like what's going on with the call? You tell me and I'll fix it. And Marty looks at me and goes, you don't like the way the bills get paid or any of the other stuff that goes on in here? Well, you tell me and I'll fix it.
There we go.
And then we look at each other and I go, hey, that's really good. We should write that down.
There we go.
So that was
the light bulbs, the flash of light going on. Oh,
that was the first time, the birth of the org chart, because before that, for instance, I always give, we had a ton of trucks because we also had fuel oil trucks, we had service trucks, and insurance in New York was always expensive. But again, with so many vehicles, it was a very big deal to the company. So Marty would get 3 bids from insurance companies. Richie would get 3 bids from insurance companies, and Al would get 3 bids from insurance company. And finally we go, you know what? Based on this box, Marty, it's your job to get the 3 bids and then make a presentation to the 2 of us. And this is how we stop the micromanaging and uses of our time or misuses of our time.
There we go.
Because, that's really was just a huge drain and allowed us to put stability in, to take control of today, but really to begin to leverage and grow in a much healthier way.
Oh, wow. That is awesome. I mean, you probably had a whole lot fewer occasions to walk somebody off the roof.
Yes.
Right. Once we start implementing this kind of organization, I mean, I have, me and my business, I've had home service businesses. Anyone listening, have you ever had these moments where when you're hot, right? You're hot mentally and you have to approach somebody and it does not come out smooth. You just want to be able to walk in there, bark some kind of order and walk out and have everybody just be fine. But that's not what happens. We end up with some egos damaged or bruised or hurt feelings. And then, the worst is they put together their resume and start shopping or they, even if they don't do that, but productivity is going to be shot for the day.
They'll bring you their body, but their heart is already left if you do that, especially if you do it in public. Now, I don't know there's anybody out there who doesn't know praise in public, criticize in private. But when you are hot, and when I was young, I was hot, as my brothers were hot, we didn't take time out to do that as often as we should. When we finally grew up, I'm talking about before age 30. By the time we grew up and got organized, we were very careful about that because it takes an enormous effort, if it's even possible, to walk that back. And then the question is, when you're yelling at me, what are you yelling at me based on? Because I'm betting it's your opinion or the subjective versus what we both agree with objective. So here's the I would say one of the biggest fallacies is, well, I'm a small company. I don't need an org chart. We don't have all those boxes. Well, here's what I have to say to you. Yeah, you got all the boxes. You just don't have the people to fill all the boxes. I didn't do it to you. The day that you had an entrepreneurial seizure and went into business, guess what? You did it to yourself. I'm giving you the path out, because even if you grow, even if you get the money and you want to start giving some of your responsibilities away to somebody who comes on board, they cannot help you the way you want if they don't know what box they're in, and if they don't know what goes on in that box 80% of the time, because it's not defined in operating manuals or standard operating procedures, and they're training on it. Because it isn't like in the old days where you gave them a book, or now you give them access to it. Do you think they know what you meant when you put the words on the page? I guarantee you, we all read with our eyes. Yeah. We all listen with our ears. So that is why the manuals are read aloud at my company and everywhere I've trained people on. And now, of course, because they're online in online programs, the only words, and if you've ever done sales, and I hope you guys all have done sales, the only words that count are the words the customer speaks. Well, guess who the customer in this scenario is? Your staff. The only words they really listen to are the ones that fall out of their mouth. And this is your chance to get them to understand it. But also, the reason that the union loved this idea was they got to put their fingerprints on how things go. They were involved in the meetings and the birth of this thing. And then we had meetings every week where we'd read 1 to 2 pages after it was rolled out, and we would discuss, anybody have a better, cheaper, faster way? And if they did, we would entertain it. We'd write it down, get back to them next week, and there's 3 answers we said. You'll always get 3 answers. Yes, we can. Let's change it. Yes, we can, but not right now, and here's why. And no, here's why. So they always, as a let's face it, I don't care what age you are. If you're looking at the screen or you've met me, I'm not young, but I still think like a 6-year-old. Yeah. And I want to know what happens to me if I do and what happens to me if I don't. And if you're honest with yourself, so do you.
Oh, boy. Yeah. We boil it down to those 2 things. Oh, good.
We do. And so do they. So give them a lot more reasons too, or what we used to call carrots versus sticks, because you want them to want to do this. In our case, the org chart was actually a reflection of the ladder that we were going to take you up. Because years ago, I read a book, The Employer of Choice. And I bought in hard on the idea that we would be the employer of choice. And the way that my brothers and I agreed to that was, if we can take young, willing people with no skills to willing people with great skills, first of all, it's a million times easier and much more pleasant to go to work with these people day after day. Then they're going to come here for a career, not a job. And from day one, even on our ads and our help wanted ads, because we looked at our help wanted ads, and this is decades ago. And when we were finally more enlightened, we realized, oh, what did we do? Because this is what we want, what we want, what we want, what we want, and none of what you wanted as a potential person to come in.
Right.
Plus, also the idea is that there's way bigger at the top of a funnel of willing people with no skills than there are the magic willing people with great skills. And we bought into the myth for years and years. Trust me, if it worked, I never would have done any training. I never would have taken people from scratch. I never would have done all the things that totally transformed my business, the arc of my career, and has done really for hundreds of companies out there that have followed my lead on this. And, because the org chart and the manuals is what takes stability into your company. That same box org chart is at work with companies from 1 million to 200 million a year in sales.
Wow.
And the only difference is they have more names to fill in those boxes than the $1 million company. And it's not only at my plumbing, heating, cooling, electrical trades, it's in garage door companies. It's at kitchen cabinetry company. It's a commercial roofing company. It's actually in a condo building company. And I had never built condo in my entire life.
Wow. There you go.
So any contracting business, it applies. That's really kind of where you start to take control and stabilizing your business. And don't feed yourself the myth is, I'll get to it when I get bigger. You're likely to not get bigger because Ellen Rohr, the great financial and good co-consultant friend of mine, and also we actually worked in a franchise with we set up a franchise, Zoom Drain franchise, with one of my clients from many years ago, as it turns out. And it was great. It was great. And so, but Ellen would say that the org chart forces you to grow in a good way, which I thought was a great way of looking at it.
Absolutely. I mean, I've got so many thoughts going through my mind about this as we talk about this.
I could talk faster as a New Yorker. If you want me to talk faster, Rob, would you like me to talk faster?
We might need to speed it up because we got a lot to cram in here.
I have learned to calm down.
I know you're slowing it down right now.
I'm slowing it down. I'm like really slowing it down. But the other thing, Rob, that is, when I first took the stage back in 2002, I went off to do my consulting career. I would look out in the audience and I would see people looking and talking to each other while I was talking. And so then I walked over to a couple of them and I go, what's up? They go, and I was just interpreting for him what you're saying because he can't figure out your New York accent.
Thanks a lot. I've lived in the Northeast for a couple of years. I get it. That's awesome.
Yeah.
There's just a thought that I had. I mean, and there's a couple of thoughts that I had about the org chart and about the procedures, and then we're going to take it to the next P word, and that's the powers.
Yep.
But the org chart, if we do not put this in place when we are small and can manage this, are we going to be able to have the time to put everything on pause when we have 10 people that we have to manage? And then we're going to go, okay, now it's time to do an org chart. That could be challenging, and get it actually organized in the way it needs to be. Now, I want to take that to a bit of a tangent, because we talk a lot in the Garage Door Heroes group and on these podcasts about building a business to sell. Now, it doesn't have to be built to sell, but it needs to be structured. I mean, it doesn't have to be sold. That doesn't have to be our strategy or our end goal.
No, you can pass it on to, your family, or you can do other things. Ellen had a great line about that, was money buys you options. So build your company so that it becomes a money producing machine. And in my case, something that produces when you're not there to make the magic happen.
There we go. Because a couple of, and I don't want to be dark cloud right now, but what if something happens to a business owner? Me, what if something happens and maybe we get in an auto accident and we can't get to work, but people need to fill our shoes. If we have an org chart, if we have procedures in place, they can kind of pick up the reins and drive the team.
Yes.
What if the worst were to happen? What if something happens and a spouse or a parent or your kids have to pick up a company to run it, or they need to sell it because you're not here?
Yeah.
If we have the organization charts in place, if we have the systems in place, the procedures or they're written out, this is our safety net. And your spouse or whoever has something they can sell, and not just, we know we come to work every day, and we make money, but that's not something that can be, that's not a discussion to have with an investor or something like that. And those were the thoughts that were coming to my mind as we talked about this the last 5 minutes.
Yeah, I would say that it was really very helpful. Again, my dad was a great mentor to my brothers and I. I mean, very young. From the time that we were young enough to ride with him and we were young, he would pick us up in the middle of the night to go run service calls with him at, nursing homes and things of that nature. But we would talk about life and talk about business and, really young. The lessons started very young.
Right on.
And we were in the back of the room. He would allow us to sit in on business discussions. And his one mantra was, don't talk, write down what you want to ask me. I will go through all of your questions at the end, which was really, you think about it, way ahead of time and enlightened. But part of what he shared with us is the time to have a buy sell is not when you need it. The time is to have it before you need it. And so he had us go get, wills and things of that nature. And my wife was very upset that at age 25, I committed to a will.
Oh, wow.
And so I said to her, I said, because I have a will doesn't mean that something bad's going to happen. But here's the thinking is we decide what happens, or the government will come in and decide what happens. So how do you want this to play out? And most of us think of ourselves as, I'm strong, I'm young, I got plenty of time on my clock. Well, that's not necessarily the case.
No.
And so the big things to cover in this planning that you're speaking to, besides systematizing your business, because if you don't, nobody wants your job. I'm going to make it easy on you. Nobody wants your job. They want your company that functions without you. That is what they find. So they want it to be systematic. Can you, are the boxes defined? Are the manuals defined? Are you able to take a pipeline of young, willing people with no skills to willing people with great skills? And I could do that. And the companies that I built now, with all the ton of PE money, a ton of these guys just sold out in the course of this thing because they were so attractive. And, they were not buying a person, they were buying a company. So the 5 Ds that I want you to think about, and this is something Ellen and I put together, is
right on.
Death, disability, divorce, debt, disaster. There's 5 of them.
Wow.
And so those 5 really dictate the things you should address in your buy sell. And not that you're looking to divorce from your family, your partners, or whatever, but stuff happens.
Yeah.
And if you wait till stuff happens versus being proactive, it doesn't usually go well.
There we go. My personal motto, and my kids or people that have worked with me have heard me say, you can control your life or your life can control you. And, and this is it, plan ahead. Don't expect the disasters, but be prepared. The 5 Ds, I mean. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's one of those things that I would have you addressed. And if you have things that are systematic, it really does. So when I say divorce, doesn't mean divorce necessarily in your life, although that will put an enormous amount of stress financially on you and the company. But divorce is, Rob, if I have to come to this company one more day to look at you as my partner, I think I'll kill myself. And that happens sometimes. It's sad. It's very sad that it happens that way. I was very lucky and blessed because I was born into the best partners that you could ever have in the form of my dad and my 2 older brothers. I never spent 1 second when I was lucky enough to be on vacation ever worrying about what was going on and what was happening behind my back, because we were very different, but we had the same core values. They would do for me over for themselves, and I would do for them over myself. And those are the people you want to be in business with.
There you go. Okay, everybody hit pause, rewind, and listen to that again. So, no, that's awesome. Thanks, Al. Well, let's pivot for a minute. Let's talk about there we go.
7 powers.
The 7 Power Contractor.
Turn it sideways so they see how thin it is.
Not an all-day read.
Yes. So this isn't like I need the next 5 weeks of your life to read this book. When I did this book, I was smart enough to get an editor, Helena, who's helped and guided a lot of things through the years with me.
Cool.
And I told her, I sent her all of my articles. And at that time, I had 250 published articles. And I don't know how many blogs.
Wow.
So she said to me, she goes, if you have all of this stuff, why do you need me? I said, Helena, picture an auditorium that's filled. And every one of my kids are there going, pick me, pick me, pick me. It would end up like a ransom note. And I need you to put the spine and help me do it. But here's the thing. I want this book written to be to contractors like myself. I'm dyslexic. Most of us are. We're not great readers. We will work our way through it if we need to. But the reality is I want you to be able to read it in 2 to 4 hours. But I want you to come back with a yellow highlighter and highlight sections and continue to read it. Because the trick is not to make a fat book. The trick, and much harder, is to make a thin book that really is impactful. And that I'm very pleased that that's what it is. Plus, if you guys don't have time to read the book or you don't want to do an ebook, the great news is if you love this voice that you're hearing, I also have it in Audible where I am sharing all the stories and the rest of the stuff here and the lessons that I've learned along the way. And the way I can describe it best is I think I have fallen in every hole there is.
Yeah.
And I think the difference for me, Rob, is when I climbed out of the hole, I went, oh, that hurt. I'm not going back in that hole. There's holes ahead of me. So I'm going to learn how to fix that. And then I get good enough. I'm going to know the holes that are coming, and I'm going to learn to sidestep them and move on. And that is what I'm trying to direct you in this book.
Right on. Right on. If I can, I mean, I have read it and I have listened to it on Audible, and it's great. It's like I've got a camera focus problem, but it is great.
Yeah, I've had the same thing happen to me. I've actually had to unplug my camera and replug it in the middle of a podcast. Yeah, I know, it's weird. It's weird.
Yeah, I get it. See if it'll reset here.
I don't know if he has. Actually, he may be old enough that he has like that cheesecloth thing they do in Hollywood.
It's my filter.
I know, it's like a filter. It's like what happened here? Come on.
Yeah, I'm sure Tanner's going to be up here to adjust that in a minute. But yeah. For one, Al's voice is not something you grow weary of. The way you tell the story, the way the book is read, it's not monotone. Like so many of them, it's because you own that material and the content. So I think that's awesome. I want to recommend anyone. Yeah, I think it is only about 2 hours and 46 minutes on Audible.
Yeah, that's all.
And
that's all. Don't speed it up to 2 speed or whatever you guys do.
Right. Don't. Okay.
Hang on 1 sec.
We're trying to get my.
We have a technical difficulty, so don't listen to Rob. I'll just talk to. It's only you and me, guys.
I'll take the show for a minute.
I'm taking the show. You go mute yourself. I have taken over.
That's right.
So here's what I want to say to you guys. I hope you've enjoyed this thing and you're thinking to yourself, well, that's nice. Al's plumbing, heating, cooling, electrical. No, everything I've said is about garage doors. And if you need proof, Tommy Mello, A1 Garage, he will tell you the systems that I put in place is what took control of his company. Because when I arrived not that long ago, he had already grown to 15 million, but he was losing money. So my job first was 15 million, let's break even. 15 million, let's make money. And let's scale this thing. And that's exactly what we did. And today he's on his way, if not already there, to 200 million and making a ton of money.
Oh, yeah.
The thing that's great about Tommy is he's a person that gives back to the industry, as Rob knows. Absolutely. And so that's really a big thing. I want you to take comfort because I know the name of this place that I'm speaking, Garage Door Heroes. All of what I'm speaking about is exactly affecting you and my experience with it. And now, of course, because of Tommy and his connections, there's a ton of garage door companies out there have joined the program and taken control of their company all over this great country.
There we go. You've heard it here, folks. And I know that Al is significant in what A1 came from and where they are today. I already know that story. And it's a great story. I will say, just for our perspective, I didn't hear this directly from Tommy or any absolutely official source, but I did hear it from someone that carries some merit in that group, and said it was that A1 is the largest privately held garage door company in America. Now,
I would think so. And he really started his business. You think about bad times, and whatever's ahead of us. He started his business in late 2007, and a little thing called 2008 rolled around.
Oh man,
8, 9, and 10. And you guys, if you're old enough, hopefully you've heard that, it was bad. It was very bad.
I still have
And
scars from
yes,
2008, 9, and 10.
Yeah, exactly. And his partner, he ended up, his partner didn't want to do it anymore. He had to take it on. And, when he talks about being in debt and the rest of it. So he has been in your chair. And this isn't about the Tommy thing, but Tommy took money out of his own pocket to bring me in when I was still doing one-to-one that he didn't have in the business because he was so committed to taking this and systematizing his business so that he could take control, make money, and then scale it to the vision that he had for him. And so it's a nice story, and I'm hoping that you're encouraged by it because that's what it is. But I don't care what size company you are today. Can I share for a moment, if you're okay with a quick story?
100%. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. All of us as contractors, in my opinion, are servants at heart. When I'm at my best, when I was at my own company, I saw myself as a servant. And what I taught my guys, they weren't selling machines. I said, there are 2,000 other companies out there that could be at this door today.
Mm-hmm.
You guys have manuals and training, and we train in our own training center. So we train in our house, not at our customer's house. We do the top state-of-the-art stuff that's out there. So when you go to the door, all I want is your head back, your chest out, be there to serve these people, because awareness is 2,000 other companies could show up to the door and they could never do what we can do. And it's just confidence, not cockiness. And then I used to say to them, I go, you may not know what I mean by confident versus cocky. Cocky is an electrician who thinks they can work on a metal ladder and not get banged off of it.
Oh, boy.
So,
yeah,
it's only a matter of time. So I wanted them to be confident, and people could register and read that off of them. Is really very powerful. So the story I wanted to share is my older brother, his wife has got a home in New Jersey. Their son, her son, looking at a house, and they wanted to get the garage door evaluated. So I reached out to Tommy, and I reached out to the organization guys that I know that have been in the group, and didn't get any responses. I figured somebody would be in New Jersey that I knew, right? And who knew?
Right.
2 guys reached out to me. One guy reaches out to me and goes, Al, for you and what you've done for my business, I will go to that job. And I look up in his contact information. He is 7 hours away from there.
Wow. But he was going.
He was going. And my brother Marty had to call him up and go, please, don't come. And so then the second one says, okay, I'll do it. And I look up and it goes, he's 10 hours away.
Oh, man.
So when you talk about us as giving people, when you have been helped, my feeling is if you have been helped or been given a gift, you are obligated to give back in whatever way that is, that is. And this to me, I know is kind of like a sidetrack story, but that is how big our hearts are.
Yeah.
But the thing is that their business got helped and they were ready to answer a ridiculous call to help.
Well, I mean, the more we give, right? If we receive, then we're obligated to give. But the more we give, that comes back to us. So I don't want anyone to get hung up on what it will task you, because the more we give, the more we're going to receive, and it won't necessarily always be immediate. But
start with your own company, because the stronger and better your company is, you can, people go, well, I'm not attached to money. Okay. If more money came into you, could you improve the lives of your customers because you have higher tech equipment, better training? Yes. Could you have more response because you have more guys on? Yes. Could you answer your calls longer hours? Yes. Could you donate that money with your own charitable out of your company? Yes. All of it is yes. So money is not the evil. The misuse of money, in my opinion, is evil.
Hey, there we go. And do you think you guys can retain and keep your teams, your staff happy long term? Great point.
I'm not saying that we just wildly overpay people just to try and keep them on the team and the rest of it. But they should have a great living. Years and years ago, and I'm talking decades ago, guys at our company could retire with almost $1 million in pension.
Wow. That's a long time ago. That was
a lot of money. Yeah. It's not the million of today. So yeah, we put money in and took care of them, and that was part of what we were doing, part of what the union helped provide. And yeah, it was a good thing. And they stayed. Guys came and stayed forever.
So cool. So that's cool. And that's the vision we all want to achieve, and that's why Al is here. He's because he's been there, done that, folks. And I like what Al said. Al's experience is his own personal experience in building a contracting or a trade business was in HVAC and plumbing and electrical.
Right.
But 100% everything we're talking about is applied to the garage door contracting business or any other home service related.
Yeah. Let me make it easy for you guys, because you're maybe thinking, well, that may not be true. Well, do you have to answer your phones? Do you have to dispatch? Does the tech have to get to the door a certain way? And when they get to the garage door, is it all the way up and won't come down? Is it all the way down and won't come up? Or it's right in the middle? Because that is a crash door. So yes, I know your business and I know all about your business, but it's like every other contracting business. The difference is you do garage doors or you do other stuff in the garage. It's all the same.
There you go. The models that we adopt the model into your personal, day-to-day operations of what you do. So cool. Yep. So helpful. And thank you. So let's talk about some powers. Let's talk about
yes. So a little genesis of this is, I thought I was a very smart person, especially again, when you're young, you're always smart. Right? And so I'm probably around 30 and I'm thinking, why is it so hard? There must be like 7 million things that I must know, or otherwise I would have figured it out already. Then I started to settle down to the 7 powers, and that is planning power, operating power, staffing power, sales coaching power, marketing power, and financial power. 7 of them. 7 things. Yeah. And so those really, and I'm happy to unpack them.
Yeah.
But planning is really about, ask yourself, guys, do you need another great idea? Or do you need another great idea that you actually implemented? And we know the answer is part B. Yeah, there's a million great ideas. All you have to do is go into a Facebook group or listen to one of these great podcasts or, all over the internet. Plenty of information. There's great webinars, seminars, like I'm going to be at, speaking on stage, and I encourage you to come, but there's plenty of knowledge. The problem is all of it doesn't fit together. And I talk about this in the book, and Rob and I, when we were talking before today, I was talking about when you pull information from everywhere, it creates a Frankenstein. Because these pieces.
I gotta get it there. Frankenstein. You build a dream, not a Frankenstein.
When you start yanking pieces from all over the places, they don't fit. So what I encourage you is on the planning power is basically a master project list. So every great idea in your head, every great idea of your staff in their head, just pull it all into the master project list. And then you work it way down the funnel because it either fixes the biggest problem or challenge or the greatest chance to grow and be profitable. And it moves down that giant list to what I call the top 30. And the top 30 is really what you would do in a year. If you tried to do 30 things at one time, it's going to be a disaster. It just can't be done. So what do? You use the same strainer. Fix the biggest problem and challenge, greatest chance to grow and be profitable. You get it down to your top 5. And those 5 can be habits or projects. Not everything is a project. What I was talking about before is, the 5 Ds, getting a buy, sell in place. Or better yet, the 4 steps of corrective action. So what is the process if there's violations that are of behavior? Because, If you don't have the 4 steps of corrective action, once you've got manuals, all the rest of the stuff established, and we have objectivity, then it's, if you guys have kids, if all you say to your kids is no, 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 don't do that again, no, 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 and there's never a consequence, what do your kids know about you? Well, it's the same thing as business. You have no teeth in it. So you need the steps of corrective action. It's not a project. It's a habit to put in place. You need the steps of delegation to learn how to delegate versus dumping things. You dump stuff on people, and then you're not happy because they didn't get it done. And you can blame them all day long. But when you get done blaming them, guess who's at fault? You.
Yep.
Because you didn't take the time to delegate in writing. You know, what is it that you want to do? Why are we doing this? What resources do they have? What does it look like if it's a successful outcome? How often is the meeting scheduled? So you don't give a project that you want done in 30 days and you never meet with them. In 30 days, you come out. Are you going to be wildly surprised at the outcome? I bet you will be.
Yep.
And not in a good way.
No.
So yeah, these are habits you need to learn. So that's planning power. Operating power is what we've been talking about a while, is the org charts, the box org chart, the depth chart, the flow of communication, and then having the ability to cover the boxes with about 80% of what goes on in written documentation and that associated training. And that leads into staffing, which is taking willing apprentices with no skills to willing techs with great skills. And that's apprentice to junior tech to senior tech. And as your team gets bigger, you earn the right to create a field supervisor. But what you commonly do as a mistake is you appoint people. So Rob's a good tech. Let's make him the field supervisor. And Rob now thinks he's a boss. He doesn't have to do any work, which is not what the role is. But he's welcome to his things. And there's only 2 ways that they will ever understand what a boss is. They watch the movie Horrible Bosses, and now they think they can be an SOB to everyone.
Of course.
Or they want to be everybody's friend. And neither one of these works. So you have to qualify, compete, and train. That's the essence of staffing power. So there's planning, operations, staffing. Sales it's a 5-step, 8-step, 10-step process that it too is documented for both your techs who sell and your big ticket salesperson, what I call a system advisor, sells the big tickets, in your case, garage doors, or if you do shelving and you do other things, epoxy floors, that's what typically they would be selling. And then somebody comes to do that job. But there's got to be a disciplined process so that you can train. And then sales coaching is, well, if I do it or don't do it, what is my reward? So sales coaching is really about rewards for going above goal, is what I like to think.
Right on.
And then it's really about coaching you in a way that you improve your behavior as you're going. And so then marketing is really, in my opinion, a bathtub full of the right amount of calls from the right customer at the right time. The problem is, if you have awful CSRs or you don't answer your phone live or all the rest of it, you have a drain, my friends, that is wide open. It's going down the drain.
That's right.
But if you do have the right amount of calls, right customer, right time, and you actually overflow the tub, which seems stressful, then you get to decide what work you do, where you do that work, and for whom, how much to charge, and how you can then allow yourself to spend money on the business as you grow. So marketing power is really, in essence, that. And that is that is a plan that addresses a marketing budget, a marketing allocation, which is what ways you're going to market, and then a marketing calendar that's keeping you on track proactively through the year so the phones don't go dead. And then financial is somebody has to keep track of the money. And where this really if you're thinking you can give away the financial manager role at your company, let me help you out. No. It's your money. And every time guys don't want to learn this, or they think, well, I'm not that smart at this, I'll get somebody to come do it. The bad story is it ends poorly because whoever took that role realizes there's nobody counteracting or counterbalancing them. I'm not saying you need to go to business school or financial things and the rest of it. You need to be able to do a simple budget and understand budgeting. And you need to know that whoever's handing you up numbers, you can trust them because you verify. and they're on time. That's really what the financial power is about, the power of budgeting. If you're new to this or you really want to get good at it, Ellen's books are still the best out there. Even the great Megan Likes, who is phenomenal, will tell you that's a great place to start.
Yeah.
Is really about that book is Where Did the Money Go? Ellen Rohr. Her name is spelled R-O-H-R, Ellen Rohr. I'm sure it's available on Amazon. That is the first book to read, Where Did the Money Go? And it starts to talk about all of this. And then the second book in that sequence is How Much Should I Charge? They are really, really, and to this day, in every one of these groups, you'll hear about taking control of the financial that way. So I think I covered them.
Yeah, great, great. And you know what, I hope, and I haven't really pitched this to Al, but I'm hoping that we can come back and really unpack some of these of the 7 powers in detail. And we'll probably talk a lot about that in the group. How important is it, Al? And I know the answer to this, but how important is it that we sort of have some order to these 7 powers? Do we want to just get our head around it and go, let's dive right into marketing?
Yeah. If you have no calls, it goes back to planning power. That is all. When I was doing one-to-one, I always started with planning power.
Yeah.
Because I know the way of the mind of the owner, having been one. I'm confused. What do I do? And sometimes we just knee-jerk things. We get staff started, roll them all back. Staff is confused and upset about it. Or we don't do anything because we're paralyzed.
Right.
We just become paralyzed. So planning power, that marketing, that funnel that I talk about, the master project, top 30 down to your top 5. Every week you need to commit time to working on your top 5. I don't care how busy your week is. I don't care what happened. You picked those top 5. You said if you put those in, they would fix your biggest problem or challenge or help you grow and be profitable. So what were you doing this week that's more important than the top 5? And the answer is simple. Nothing. So you have to have a meeting on your calendar with yourself to make sure at the very least you've worked on it during that thing. That is, to me, the number one thing. As to what I do these days, I recognize planning power, but operating power and staffing power is what people wanted, which is why I put it online. The Signature Operating Manuals System, SOMS, that program is available online, and that is the org charts that I'm speaking to and the manuals that I'm speaking to. That's really where you start to stabilize and take control of your program. And once you've done that, then you can do the second program, which is Signature Staffing Systems, which is that willing apprentices, no skills, to willing techs with great skills, and learning what you need to do about staffing and things of that nature. So those are the 2 powerful things lined up behind planning power, in my opinion. As to financial marketing, you won't go wrong in any of them. But the driving force about what you should be working on always starts with the master project, top 30 down to your top 5.
There we go.
Yep, that's it.
Because that's the foundation, right?
Yep.
I mean, if we're going to build an empire, there better be a foundation under there to hold it, and it starts with planning. And part B, which we'll get to at some point, and it's in the book. Part B of planning power is leadership.
Yeah, actually, people used to, when I was getting paid 6 figures to do one-to-one consulting work, and when I would arrive, I was working on planning power with them, and getting control and getting this thing and getting a plan together, and everyone knew what was going on because we literally posted the top 5 on the wall. That's not how you get it done, but I had them put it on a big whiteboard where everybody walked by.
Yeah.
And the guys go, well, we can do it on a computer. I go, I know you can. I'm making you put it on a wall, not for you, but to have you held accountable by your team who goes by that board every day and either sees there's something going on or nothing going on.
Yep.
That's why it's that's done that way. And then, so we would do planning, operations, staffing, sales, marketing with me. And if they wanted to, they would do sales coaching and financial with Ellen.
Perfect.
Yeah, that was really the main way that we would do it, was the sequence of that in that order. But yeah, I would get done, and then I would do leadership power. And the guys loved it. I mean, they loved doing leadership power. And invariably they go, Al, why didn't we start with this? I go, here's what I can tell you. When I arrived at your company, you were in the pool slashing around, ready to drown.
Yep.
That is not the time to teach you how to swim. My job is to throw you a raft so that you can get over to the edge of the pool and we can talk about how to go back in the pool the right way.
There we go. There we go. I love that. But it's a sequence, right? You know, my day job is the marketing power, right? People come to me for marketing, sometimes staffing, but mostly marketing help.
Right.
And
yeah.
And we have some levers that we can pull that get leads and business really quick. If we haven't done sales power and sales training power, if we're not ready for those leads, well, you know, again, we've got holes in our bucket because we can fill that with.
You're just wasting calls and you're actually antagonizing the people you want to serve down the road.
Yep, exactly. So that's why I love the sequence of the 7 powers, because it prepares us. If we've done the planning power and move through that sequence, then we are prepared for the result of the next step, which you know, the gas pedal, if you will, or the rocket fuel, if you will, is that marketing. All of a sudden now we're going to have business.
Yes.
And that a lot of times marketing costs money to get. Go ahead.
Yes, which is why I said your marketing has a budget. Did you guys hear the word budget? Because marketing budget is you're not driving your car far unless you put fuel in it. Guess what a marketing budget is? Fuel.
There we go.
I'm going to share can I have a quick story? Because I know we have to wrap up. So let me get to a quick story here.
Oh, we're good.
I finally got it down to 7 powers. And I thought, well, this is going to be great with guys. They're going to know it's only 7 things and we're going to, work through all the rest of it. And I could see that there was still this confusion and overload and all of the things that you suffer as a contractor, as I suffered as well. So I was listening one day to Anthony Robbins, and he was talking on TV about he had created a 30-day program to change the entire arc of the rest of your life. And he looked into the camera and he goes, and what I found out is people will not invest 30 days to change the rest of their life.
Oh, wow.
So I had to create a 7-day program to change the rest of your life. And so when I created 7 powers, I realized, well, yes, you got to know the 7 powers, but I'm going to help you guys. There's really 2 things that you will do the rest of your entire contracting life. More calls, more texts. More calls, more texts. Now, let me, again, make it clear. More calls is that bathtub I was talking about. Right amount of calls, right customer, right time, and having great CSR so that the calls are not being wasted. And more techs are not just bodies. If they are garage door service guys and they talk to customers, they have great sales skills, great operational skills, great technical skills. And if they're installers, they have great communication skills, great operation, great technical skills. Those 2 things are the most powerful things as you move along.
Wow.
How's that for a mic drop?
I was going to say, I'll pick this up and drop it in for effect, but that is huge, folks. That is huge. Thank you so much. I have really enjoyed this. I've really enjoyed our time.
I always love it. And I looked up at the clock and I go, really? No, I can't believe it's an hour. I hope you guys feel the same way, because I'd love to come back and talk more with you. But if you love what you've heard today and you love and want to go, how do I see and meet Al in person? The answer is I only speak for Tommy events, and there's going to be a phenomenal event in Orlando in November 1 through 3, I believe. It's called the Freedom Event, and I will be speaking on stage with my good friend Tommy. So I am looking forward to it. Rob has heard me on stage.
Oh yeah,
and
I will be there. I will be there in Orlando in November.
I'm looking forward to meeting people who know me and people I've worked with and people who don't know me, because I like to meet new friends.
Awesome. I want to pitch the Freedom Event in November as well. I have met so many people that at these events that come for the first time, and then I keep in touch with them afterwards, right? And I know this can be a life-changing event, personal and business life changing. You get to meet and network with the right people. you get ideas, and it really opens your mindset. And you come away going, okay, I know what my next steps are, whether that's get on Amazon and start getting the books from the inspirational speakers, or contacting those inspirational speakers, or you get some business model that you can download, and things like that. So I want to highly recommend that. I want to recommend getting Al's book, and getting your team on board with reading that. It's a very easy read. Take it a step at a time, implement it every a new section every week, and all of a sudden you're going to feel like you have a handle on your business. So yeah, I want to just throw that out there. But I can't thank you enough, Al. Really,
thank you
for your time.
I appreciate being invited as a guest into your home. Guys, I have been you, and I know the joys and the misery, and I hope that's come here. But I want to tell you, there's a path to more and more joy if you open yourself up to it and ready to go to work. So cool. And I endorse that and support that statement fully. But I do hope that we can have Al back. I do. I would like to unpack. I want the audience to send in their most pressing questions when you got them in group and talk to them. Say, hey, ask Al this next time. Absolutely. We're going to do that. I think everyone will jump on board with that. Cool. Well, I'll let you go. I'll let everybody go get back to work. Thanks again, Al. And I look forward to talking with you soon. Appreciate it all. Take care, guys. All right. Bye now.